Welcome back. And the way we work is changing. And a big part of that change is being driven by the next generation of workers, the Generation Z. With their focus on flexibility, work-life balance, financial stability, they're bringing new demands to the table. So to explore these questions, we joined virtually by the head of HR at Dariel, Alison Palmer. A very good morning to you, Alison. Thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning to you and your viewers. Thank you for having me.
Now, how has the workplace changed in the past few years, and what role has Gen Z played in that change?
I think the most important thing to understand for employers is that the power balance has shifted. It used to be that, the employer had all the power and the individual or the prospective candidate would be super grateful just to have a job. What is happening now, particularly with the Gen Zs, is that these youngsters have grown up with access to technology. My children are Gen Z and they don't know life without a cell phone. So these youngsters have so much access to technology, they have choices. They are stamping their authority on, respecting their values. And so the power balance has changed between the employer and the employee or the prospective employee because these youngsters have a lot more choice.
Right. And what are some of the biggest differences between, Gen Z and the previous generations when it comes to the workplace?
Gen Z are looking for flexibility. They're looking for hybrid working.
Okay.
If you think the youngsters that are graduating this year, last year, and next year, started or at least had part of their education through COVID, when everybody was isolated, we were in hard lockdown. And yet the world still continued to turn, the world of work, the world of studies, everything happened. So the concept of 9 to 5 is, first of all, foreign to them. And they will more than likely laugh at any employer that insists they come into the office 5 days a week. So they're looking for flexibility. Money is important to them, but they will not sacrifice their values, such as ethics and work in an unethical manner or for an unethical company, just for the sake of a paycheck. I was reading a survey at the beginning of the week that says that more than 70% of Gen Zs will resign from a job if they are unhappy without having another job to go to.
Sure.
So money is a means to promote work-life balance, give them a healthy, healthy lifestyle. There's also a huge importance on mental health. The world of the awareness of mental health is in the spotlight at the moment. So if they don't feel that their particular job or their current role is good for their mental health, they are more than likely going to resign.
Now, there's the whole narrative of working from home. How does the rise of remote work and the gig economy fit into the changing priorities of Gen Z?
Yes, definitely. So I think that they prioritize flexibility. They prioritize work-life balance. So for those of us who are old enough to remember pre-COVID, to wake up in the morning, fight the traffic, get to the office, you probably had to wake up about 2-3 hours before your day actually started. So they're looking for hybrid, they're looking for flexibility, where they're respected as individuals and where their values are valued by the employer. So the notion of hybrid working, even fully remote working, is very important. It's a very, very important key for them. Or decision when they're looking at accepting a job offer. And we've also seen a massive rise in positions being advertised as either hybrid or fully remote. When we receive CVs of candidates, they will actually stipulate on their CV that they're looking for either hybrid or fully remote work. They're not interested in, as I said before, the 9 to 5 days at the office. So that has definitely changed.
Because when COVID started, it was punted that hybrid working is the future of the world of work. But in recent months, we've seen so many companies calling back their employees back to the office. So where do you see the hybrid working model going?
I think that hybrid working is here to stay. There are obviously organizations who are insisting that their staff return full-time to the office. And I think that is quite a dangerous statement to make, because good talent, quality talent, is very hard to find. And as businesses evolve, we're all fighting, especially in the tech industry where I am, we're all fighting over the same pool of candidates. So I think that to have a blanket approach to everybody must come back to the office 5 days a week, you are actually removing a massive section of the potential talent because they're not going to be interested in coming into the office 5 days a week. That is not to say that there are not benefits in working from the office. There's certain things that you can only do when you're in a room. If you're brainstorming, if you're trying to solve a problem, it's much better to do that in person than it is online or remotely. So I think that the hybrid model is the one that is here to stay.
What are some of the challenges companies face in adapting to the changing expectations of Gen Z?
Sure. Okay. So we have to be more empathetic. Empathy is a major quality that a good manager or a good leader must have. Gen Zs are looking for promotional possibilities. They're looking to improve their skills. Now, Gen Z are also called job hoppers. And I think that we need to understand that they're not job hopping for money, as in the traditional sense of job hopping. They're job hopping because they want a new environment. They're job hopping because they want a new experience. They want to change their skills. They want, they're looking for diversity in their experience. So it's as an organization, you have to try and give that to them. You have to. They want to be heard. So I think as an organization, you must have regular feedback. You must have your managers who are good mentors or seniors in the organization who are prepared to mentor the youngsters. They must see an opportunity for career advancement. So all of those are quite important. But it's a fine balance between that and micromanaging or mollycoddling. So, the Gen Z, they do want to stand up. They do want their voice to be heard. But they are looking for advancement and opportunities as well. And I think organizations need to ensure that that is in place or they will lose decent talent.
Sure. And as you said earlier on, the Gen Z now focus on, flexibility, work-life balance, financial stability, and they bring a whole lot of demands to the table. What if companies can't meet some or all of these demands? What do they need to do to attract and retain top talent from the Gen Z?
Sure. I think that you can always meet some of the demands, but I think, and I'm not saying that companies must bend over backwards or they're going to lose all their staff. What I'm saying is that there needs to be a compromise. So, within the conversation, there's certain things that you can accommodate and there's certain things that you cannot accommodate. And I think it's that conversation. Gen Zs want to be heard. And so that is really, really important. They're also looking for companies who align with their values, values of ethics. Values of, green technology, being sustainable, they're very aware of climate. So I think that these, as principles, any organization can actually look at this and decide how are they going to approach this, because that will also be attracting the Gen Z generation.
Oh, yeah. And is it true that Gen Z is job hopping more than the previous generations? I mean, what does it mean for the future of the job market?
I do believe they are more likely to leave a job. First of all, as I said before, if they're not happy, if it's a toxic work environment. But again, if they're not getting the career advancement and the diversity of skills, learning the different skills, then they are going to move. And sometimes it's a little bit like shifting deck chairs on the Titanic, because we especially in the tech industry being relatively small.
Yeah.
But we absolutely have to try and accommodate this. I do think they are job hopping. I don't really like that term, but I think they are doing it, but not for the reasons that we've had in the past, where somebody will move every 6 months for an increase in salary. They're moving for different reasons.
And now, the rise of social media and online communication, how does that impact, the way Gen Z interacts with their workplace?
Yes, it's actually quite interesting, because what I have noticed and what I have seen in my many moons of interviewing candidates and graduates as they finish varsity is that this generation is actually reading less than previous generations. Now, that will obviously have an impact on their ability to communicate, written communication. They're spending a lot more time on their phones. There are concerns over mental health as a result, because the lack of socialization. And again, because we're not going into the office 5 days a week, sometimes these youngsters are sitting on their computer in a room all alone. to get their work done. So this is all having a huge impact. But the social media angle makes them much more aware of what is going on. When I was a youngster, we didn't have things like cell phones. There was no such thing as the internet that was readily accessible. We had to read the newspaper to find out what was going on in the world. So I think that the social media and the access to the internet is making them more aware. And hence they're more concerned about climate change. They are very aware of the politics, what is happening in other countries, and they're actually standing up and making a stance. But I just find it very sad that the art of reading seems to be diminishing, and it does certainly have an impact on these youngsters in the workplace.
All right, Alison, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Indeed, thank you. That was the head of HR at Dariel, Alison Palmer, talking to us about the next generation of workers, the so-called Generation Z, bringing new demands to the table.